Alright guys, welcome back. Episode 23 of this Impact Wrestling Save. This episode is a bit mixed. There's a bit of we're still building momentum for some things and tying other stories up fully. But I think we've actually got a decent card here, so hopefully we'll get it better than the last show, which I believe was 50. But we're aiming for, depending on how the show goes, we're aiming for mid-50s at least, I'd say. The last couple of shows have been, a 50, 43, which is bad, 52, 51. So a lot of the shows, sort of 50 is seemingly a good rating. Although I felt a little bit disappointed by last show because I thought maybe we could have done better if the James Storm injury hadn't have happened, which, by the way, he's out for over a year. I think we can do surgery, but it's so it's extreme risk. A year and 2 weeks. Chris Ridgway's out for 44 days. Leo Rush still gone for 4 months. So we actually could have Leo Rush work angles with Bay, but I sort of thought maybe we'll drop it until later on. Because if you could come back and Bay's situation could be completely different. So the Super X Cup, we had on Explosion again, obviously. TJP defeating Jake Christ. Petey Williams getting a win over Crazy Steve. Rohit defeating Chris Sabin. Daga defeating Chris Ridgway, who's performing injured, which is actually handy because we needed him to get a loss anyway soon. So Daga beating him is decent. And then Wentz beats Daniel Makabe. With the table currently looking like this. Block A features Wentz and Ridgway out in the lead, with Daga, TJP, and Makabe all on 4, and Chris unfortunately sitting on a duck egg. In Block B, we have 4 competitors sitting on 4 points, although Dez has 3 matches, still to face Willie Mack. Sabin has 3 matches, still to face Willie Mack, and Mack has to face the Dez and Sabin, obviously, with then Crazy Steve and Petey Williams on 2 points each. But we will have Mack versus Sabin on this episode of Impact Wrestling. The tournament will not obviously conclude at Final Resolution. It will take place at the pay-per-view after that. So just keep that in mind. And I think we'll probably have semis for both blocks, semi-finals for both blocks on the Impacts building up to the pay-per-view after Final Resolution. So let's get into the show. 117 minutes, 15 segments. Again, opening up 41 rating. Matthews and Callis sort of tell you everything I just told you. They announce James Storm's long injury. EC3 and Callahan is recapped. Will Chris Bay accept the challenge? And of course, hyping up Deonna Purrazzo's appearance, her being our Knockouts champion. And the show opens with our Knockouts champion, as we're in 6 women tag team action, with the victors Kelly Ray, Jordan Grace, and Serena Deeb picking up the win over Purrazzo, Valkyrie, and Rosemary. In 10 minutes, when Kelly Ray gets a roll-up quick cradle on the champion Deonna Purrazzo, which I think is probably maybe the first time she's lost in the entire time of her Impact run with us. But I think it was important, you get that shot quick roll-up, and it's not a victory. She doesn't hit the super kick. It's a quick roll-up, and it gets the victory to give Kelly a big boost going in to Final Resolution. Serena Deeb gets a 42, Grace 44, Kylie 40, Rosemary 45, Taya Valkyrie 42, and Deonna Purrazzo 46. Good way to open up the show. After this match, there's still a big brawl in the ring between Kylie and Deonna Purrazzo, as Kylie is finally able to get her hands clearly on Deonna Purrazzo. Sure, in the match, Deonna Purrazzo will obviously be dodging her quite a lot. Trying to get in there when maybe Serena Deeb is in, or still trying to avoid Jordan Grace as well. But, picking her moments, avoiding Kelly Ray, knowing how badly Kelly Ray wants to get her hands on her for injuring her friend, Susie. And after this match, after pinning her, Kelly Ray is able to get her hands on Deonna Purrazzo and laying some blows before they are restrained by referees. Moose has that match with Hernandez, actually pretty good at a 48. Moose finishing hole 11 above Hernandez, as Moose defeats Hernandez in 8 minutes with a game breaker. Not much to see here. Moose's storyline with James Storm has ended, so we may need to find something quickly for Moose to do next month. But after his match, he announces he'll still be at the pay-per-view. and he'll be looking to pick a fight with anybody he can. He's convinced, he's a big deal in Impact Wrestling. He feels had called out Jim Storm, or he was going to call out Jim Storm, but as he refers to it, the old man fell apart. So he'll still be a fan of looking to fight someone. In a 50, a very good match for the Super X Cup, Willie Mack defeats Chris Sabin, putting Willie Mack clear top of the group with 6 points from 3 matches. As he pins Sabin with a Chocolate Thunder Bomb. Sabin got a 52, Mack a 46. I feel like with Mack in this tournament, being, I guess, the most like non-prototypical X Division star, the X Division obviously at times features a cruiserweight style, and he is the least visually cruiserweight, despite having a more aerial offense than somebody like Daniel Maccabee, or Chris Ridgway as well. But Mack is, if he's going to be in here, I think he's got to have a decent performance. I'm not saying he's going to win the Super X Cup and compete with Trey Miguel, but he has to look threatening throughout the tournament, and he's got pretty bad momentum at the minute, so hitting him up through the tournament is hopefully something that can happen here. And then after, we just have a quick handshake between an X Division and Impact legend and Willie Mack, who I'm sure is hoping to carve his own path in Impact Wrestling. Heath and Rhino have a warm-up match against Falaba and TJP. TJP's one for complaining about not being on Impact, so this was good to get him in. As Heath and Rhino defeat Falaba and TJP in 7.5 minutes, when Heath pins Fala with a sweetness. Don't know what the sweetness is, but it's what he pins Falaba with. Falaba was his weak link, unfortunately, as he is, to be fair, a decent bit behind everybody else, but he's also the least used. So it seems like they've kind of carried him a little bit to that 48. Of course, Rhino with a 48, Heath at 47, TJP 44, and Ba all the way down at 32. After the match, Heath and Rhino call out the North, and the two go back and forth on the mic, with them saying, clearly we can't go past this. We're costing each other opportunities. One more time, Heath and Rhino versus the North. Final resolution. What do you say? The North obviously accept and head back down the ramp. No brawl. They don't come to blows this time. We've done all that. The North are just being pros and going back and going to get ready for their match. At final resolution, Heath created a catchphrase. Don't know what that could be. What way he could have insulted them, or got his new "I have kids," I guess. A 54 is also a really good rating, so we could maybe get a decent rating out of the show, depending on how the main event goes. I was tempted for Heath and Rhino versus the North to be some kind of hardcore match, but I think we might end up with a couple hardcore matches on the show, so we'll probably have that just be a standard tag. Rich Swann, RVD, underperforming a little bit, 44, as Rich Swann defeats Rob Van Dam in 13 minutes with a chicken fried driver. This is RVD's first match back from Noah, so it's probably not the return he's hoping for, but we'll maybe find something else for RVD to do next month that we can heat him up. 45 for Rich Swann, 47 for Van Dam. So why was the match lower? Is there a reason? What did he do wrong? Declining physical. Penalized for chemistry. He's overwhelmed by his manager. Alright. There's definitely a joke in there somewhere. RVD is penalized for his stamina, per gimmick, and inconsistency from Swan. So, and lack of associated storyline. Okay, that's fair. After the match, we have Eric Young come out, and he announces that Rich Swann is probably right. The two of them could do with finally moving on from each other and pursuing other things. UI has a long list of things he wants to do now that he's back in Impact Wrestling, and if Swan wants the match and he can pick any stipulation, it's going to be not an unsanctioned match, but like a hardcore match, a big final blow off for these two, because it has to step up a level from what they've been doing, and they've been beating the hell out of each other. So it might be a last man standing. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. A last man standing match for these two. I think last man standing matches could probably be it. It's a big way to end their feud. Although the feud's underperformed, maybe they can kick it up next month or at the end of the month for the last man standing match. Or if you think maybe a hardcore match works better, let me know. 44, good hype builder for the now properly named Killer Death Machines, as they beat new to Impact Wrestling Team C Stars. Obviously, they debuted in the knockout tournament in real life. We didn't have space for them, but here they get their debut in a decent match with Subpar Wrestling. The Killer Death Machines, Havoc and Nevaeh, defeat Team C Stars Ashley Vox and Delmy Exo in 8:21 when Havoc pins Vox with a Havo Killer. It probably should have been Exo. I think Vox is more popular, so maybe we should have had it the other way around, but I didn't actually pick who lost. And, you know, Vox is a 40, outperforming Nevaeh. Exo's not far behind, the 36. And she was off for a game, so maybe she would have actually been around the level of Nevaeh. So these two women probably will actually add something very good to our tag team division in the near future. Then we have a 45, a really good segment, as Melissa Santos talks about our upcoming main event, as Chris Bay will team with EC3 to take on Sami Callihan and Trey Miguel in the main event. I won't lie to you. I needed a big main event, I felt, to kick off the sort of go home show. And we don't have a lot of big over faces. Our over faces are Eddie, Sami Callihan, was James Storm, Keith, Ken Shamrock, and who we haven't actually used yet. I have plans for it, we just haven't used him yet. And then it falls to like Trey Miguel and people like that. Brian Myers, who we haven't actually had to lose yet, so I didn't want him to be included in this match. So it was with that sort of thing. So, you know, we went for the big rating. Your world champion and a contender for the mid-card belt against the mid-card champion and the world champion's number one contender. What can go wrong? You know, EC3 says come final resolution, he will still be TNA's or Impact's world champion, and Chris Bay will get back the title that he should have always been holding, meaning the X Division title. And of course, Chris Bay, you know, hypes himself up a little bit, says he'll take that Ultimate X match at final resolution. But tonight in the ring, he'll pin Trey 1, 2, 3. And Trey does lose as E3 in a good match. EC3 and Chris Bay win, but Trey is actually pinned by your world champion in 16 minutes as EC3 pins Trey with a sweet meat sizzler. 51 rating, not bad. I kind of felt like the point of the match, the 15-minute match, you're trying to make Trey and Chris Bay look like possible main eventers. You know, like heavyweights, so to speak. If you imagine the X Division sort of off to its side, being filled with a lot of lighter wrestlers, a lot of mid-card guys, you've got to, when they have this opportunity, make Trey and Chris Bay look like top guys, as they're young and probably, you know, guys who might hold the world title in the future. So, although Trey did lose, he's not been pinned by Chris Bay. I didn't want Chris Bay to pin him right now, even before the pay-per-view. And I thought that, you know, maybe if we do option C, having Trey have this match with EC3 where he loses to him could build into the storyline in the future. If it goes so far, and obviously we didn't want Sami losing to EC3 right before the pay-per-view. Callihan had a 55, the best in-ring performance. That feud with RVD really put him over. Trey, a 52, the same as world champion EC3, and then Chris Bay with a 51. And our show closes with, I think, a moment you could have for Impact Wrestling, something they'll show in the highlight package of Final Resolution, I'm sure, as Bay and EC3 stand tall, holding the titles. So Bay would obviously be holding the X Division title, EC3 with the world title, standing over Sami Callihan and Trey Miguel. 51, good rating. Good rating. So let me know what you guys think. Any predictions for Final Resolution? Any predictions for what you think might happen? Who you think the champions will be coming out of it? Any other big matches you think will happen? And I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.